Hello, my lovely friends. My name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my November wrap up. I am excited to talk through all the books that I have here today. I don't have very many, which is totally fine because I did really enjoy my reading month this month. So in the month of November, so far, I have read 9 books, which is just on the cusp of my least read reading month of September. But I might possibly squeeze in one more book because it is currently November 28th. So I do have today, tomorrow, and Monday to finish any other books that I have on the go, which I will also talk about here as well. So without further ado, let's just dive into my stats. So as I said, 9 books this month. They were all fairly good as well. So I ended up reading 2 YA fantasy, 1 fantasy, 1 adult fantasy. I ended up reading 1 romance, 3 different middle grades, 1 mystery, and a historical fiction that I didn't really know where to place. I think I ended up picking it up from the YA section, but to me it feels more like adult the way that it's written, but who knows? It's just the way it is. I ended up reading 1 3-star, 2 3.5-star, 1 4-star, 3 4.5 stars, and 2 5 stars this month, so it was very, very good. Let's just dive in. So the very first book I read was Awakened by Moni Boyce. This I read for the Lovely Ladies Book Club, which all of us low-key didn't love. I ended up giving it 3 stars because I thought that the beginning part of it had so much premise, but the last half was so poorly executed that it probably should be around a 2.5 star, but that's fine. I rated it 3 star. That's what it's going to stay at. It follows a girl who is deemed to be an oracle, and at the beginning of this book, it feels a little bit like a YA situation where she just finds out that she is this thing because this whole group of people that she's known her like whole life turns out to have been there to basically protect her from this evil guy who's hunting her down, who's also a vampire. And so there's witches, werewolves, vampires, all sorts of stuff, oracles, magic, and it's just a lot. And I think that it rushed through so much. It didn't have enough build-up to get to the point in the romance book that it needed to be, which is okay. But yeah, that's the first book that I read this month. The second book that I read was Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I really enjoyed this. So I read this for a video that is hopefully coming soon. I don't know when I'm gonna get it done, but it's in the works. And I read this one for it, and it was so good. I started reading it a little bit, and then I kind of was like, I don't really know if this is gonna be for me. And then my friends were all like, no, you should watch the movie first. Watch the adaptation first because it'll make you so excited for the book. So I did. And it did just that. It made me so excited to keep reading with the book to see how the book differed from the movie. And I don't know which one I like more because they both had like a different take on this story than each other, I guess. The movie went a little bit more war-centered, and Howl is a little bit more like broken and demonized, and in this it's a little bit more fun and light and happy, and there's no war in this. They're just hunted by this person for like the whole time. But I really enjoyed this. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Really loved it. I highly suggest you guys watch or pick up Howl's Moving Castle at some point because it was just so good. It honestly was just so good. The next book that I read is, I believe, my favorite V.E. Schwab book so far, and that is A Conjuring of Light. So I managed to finish finally the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy. That was one of my goals this year, is to finish this trilogy. And I'm so glad that I did because the second book was a huge disappointment to me. If you guys remember, I read that one this summer and I gave it like 3.5 stars. It really should have only been like a 3-star or a 2.5 star now that I think about it because it was just not good. I just gave it a higher rating because I'm like, it should be higher because everybody else loves it, but I don't. I have the weirdest rating system and I'm working on it, guys, but this one is my favorite. I loved this one so much. I gave this one 4.5 stars. So good. So this is just finishing out the Darker Shade of Magic series. The Darker Shade of Magic series, if you don't know, follows Kel and Lila. Kel is a magic user. He's an Antari who can travel through different worlds to each of the various Londons. There are 4 Londons. We have Grey London, which has no magic, Red London, which is prosperous with magic, we have White London, which is dying, and we have Black London, which has been consumed by magic. And in the first book, he finds this stone that is pure magic, and he has to get it out of the world before it falls into the wrong hands. This is the conclusion to that series, and it was fabulous. From word go, it holds you by the throat and keeps you there until the end. It is so good. The next book that I read was Keeper of the Lost Cities Lodestar. This is book 5 in the Keeper of the Lost Cities series by Shannon Messenger. And I gotta say, my love for this series is kind of falling a little bit because I find that these books just keep getting more complex and needlessly so. Needlessly complex, needlessly long, because this is a middle grade book and it is almost 800 pages. This doesn't need to be this long. There are a lot of scenes that are just useless and it just kind of goes in circles, which is so sad to me because the first few books I absolutely adored where it was going. I wish that I had written them, but now I'm sitting here and I don't really, I'm not enjoying them as much, but they're still enjoyable. I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars because it was good, but as I said, needlessly long, and this world is just getting needlessly complex to me. So we'll see what the next few books have in store for me. The next book that I read in the month of November was a new favorite of mine, and that is The Lovely War by Julie Berry. This book broke my soul. From about 30 to 40 pages in, I was sitting there and I had that feeling in my chest that I was like, I know this book is going to destroy me and I know I'm gonna love it at the same time. And it did. I have not sobbed this hard reading a book in years. It full body wrecked me. That wasn't proper English, but that's what it did to me. It full body wrecked me. Aphrodite is narrating a story about 2 different couples during the wartime to her husband and her lover, Hephaestus and Ares. It is basically her touch on these mortals' lives, and it is so sweet, and it crosses over the First World War, so it is desperately heartbreaking and so sad. There was a moment in here where I was just out loud going, no, no, please no, no, please no, and I'm getting emotional now thinking about it because it is just so good, and it's just, everybody needs to read this book. If you love historical fiction, if you love love stories, pick this up. It's so good. I gave this 5 stars if you couldn't tell. The next book that I read in the month of November was the YA fantasy Raybearer. This is by Jordan Itzleko, and I've said in a few videos recently that it is in the running for my favorite YA fantasy of the year. It was so good. So from what it says on the flap, it is about Tari Sai, who has been raised in isolation her whole life, and her mother one day tells her that she's going to go to the kingdom, and she binds Tari Sai to this oath that once she loves the prince, she has to kill him. So it is magically in her blood to basically obey this command. So Tari Sai goes to this kingdom and she tries to become part of the prince's council, and that is only like the first 100 pages of this book, you guys. I went into this thinking that that was going to be the whole story. No! It is the only first, like, little tiny, maybe 25%, not even. It is crazy, this book. It goes off from there. The world is beautiful and rich and so, so, so good. I love it so much. It is so bright and colorful. And, oh, amazing. But yes, I ended up giving this one 5 stars. The next book that I finished was a middle grade, and probably the funniest middle grade that I've ever read in my life, and that is Sal and Gabi Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez. This is part of the Rick Riordan Presents imprint of Disney Hyperion, and I loved this book so much. So it follows Sal, who has diabetes, and he can also, coincidentally, rip holes in the universe and like pull stuff out of it. So it just follows him in his life, his day-to-day life with his friends at his new school that he goes to. That's basically all I'm going to tell you because it is so heartwarming and so good that y'all should all pick it up. I gave this one 4.5 stars. The next book that I read was a little bit of a disappointment. I ended up reading The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I have come to the realization in my reading that I think thrillers aren't my vibe. I've tried to read a few of them and none of them really surprise me or thrill me in any way. And I just think they're just not my vibe. I love me a detective mystery crime novel so much. I just love that genre. So I thought that maybe this kind of genre would work well for me, but I don't know. I come out of it and I'm just like, I had no idea what was going on. I was enjoying it, but it just wasn't great for me. But yes, this follows a bunch of people all on this remote island off the coast of Ireland at a wedding, and it follows this cast of people. One of them is a murderer, one of them is a victim, and you don't know which one is which until the very end. So it is really compelling, and I do highly suggest it because it does have the "And Then There Were None" Agatha Christie vibes, which is why I picked it up in the first place, because I love "And Then There Were None." It was so good. But yes, I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. And the last book that I read so far in November was one that I have been so excited to read and is in the running for my favorite cover of 2020, and that is Skyhunter by Marie Lu, and I was not disappointed by this one. I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. It was so good. I was reading it and I couldn't find any flaws with it, really. I just don't know why I didn't give it a 5 star. I think it's because it's not a new favorite of mine, which is what I tried to save my 5 stars for. This baby right here follows Talon, who is a striker, and at the beginning of this book, she loses her striker partner, her shield. And it's kind of her fault a little bit, but that essentially puts her in limbo because as a striker, you need a partner because you work in tandem, you basically protect each other's back. And this whole country that they're living in, Mara, is the last free country in this entire world. Everywhere else is being taken over by the Krenza Federation, and this Krenza Federation is coming for Mara. And so that is basically the backdrop of this entire book, is this war and this looming threat. But Talon's life gets returned upside down again, not even when her partner dies at the very beginning, but also when a prisoner of war comes in front of the striker audience to be questioned and executed, and she stops that execution. We will leave it at that because it is so good and you should all read it, and the ending of this made me desperate for the next one. I am so excited to see where this series goes. It kind of gives me the vibes of a little bit, like just a touch of like Mockingjay in the Hunger Games, but also with a lot of like Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I don't know why those two, but they definitely work for this one. And the entire time I was sitting there, I'm like, is this supposed to be a sci-fi or fantasy? I'm not sure. Is it a sci-fi fantasy? Who knows? I loved it either way. Let's turn this around, shall we? Because I did talk about all these books. So those are all the books that I've read in the month of November, and I'm currently in the middle of 3 at the moment. So I'm halfway through The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 3rd Mistborn novel in era number 1. I am loving this book. I love the Mistborn series so much. This one is just so good. All the puzzle pieces are coming together. It is 5 years since the first book happened, so there's been so many different things happening throughout this series that are finally coming to a close, and like you're figuring stuff out, and Brandon Sanderson is a master at creating fantasy worlds. I love this world so much, but yes, I'm halfway through this one and I'm hoping to have it done really soon. I'm also halfway through, or a third of the way through, Fire by Kristen Cashore. This one is from the Graceling realm. It is, I believe, of that trilogy, but they don't all follow the same storyline. They follow different characters from different parts of the Graceling realm. And this one follows Fire, who is a monster human. She was born from a monster and a human's liaison. And so her, like, power is that her appearance can cause men and women to go absolutely crazy, either for her or to want to kill her, or she just causes so much anguish on these people. And it is also really terrifying for her because these people can attack her in various ways, like sexually assault her, try to kill her in instances, or hurt her, or are so in love with her appearance that they like fall at her feet. Like, it's crazy. But so far, I don't really have a lot of opinions on this because I don't know, there's just not a lot happening. I don't know. There's the vibe of like old school fantasy, old school YA fantasy to it, which I really enjoy because we have a character in here who is sexually active, and you don't often have that in a YA fantasy. And it is so just gently laid in, like it's normal. It's just part of her life, which is so great to see. Also, it reminds me a little bit, it has like a tone of Game of Thrones a little bit because it has that classic medieval fantasy setting to it, which I really, really love. So we'll find out how I feel about this one, but as of yet, it's a big question mark. And of course, I am still reading Dracula by Dacre Stoker and J.D. Barker. This one I picked up specifically after Halloween because I wanted something a little bit scary. and then I got swept away by so many other books. So this one has kind of gone to the wayside, but I do really want to keep reading it. I'm currently 100 pages in, roughly. Exactly 100 pages in, not roughly, exactly. And I'm enjoying it so far. So it is the official prequel to Bram Stoker's Dracula. It is written by Bram Stoker's like great-great-nephew or something, Decray Stoker. It's basically a fictionalized biography of Bram Stoker's life, based off of the notes that Bram Stoker made while he was writing Dracula, which is really cool, and it's very scary so far, so excited for this. But yes, my lovely friends, that is it. That is all that I have for you today. That is everything that I read in the month of November and everything that I might possibly also continue to read in the last few days here. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like this video if you have not yet. It is literally just a little click of the like button. Just scroll down a little bit, it's right there. Thank you so much for doing that. It really helps us creators out. What was your favorite read of November? Let me know down below if you read anything that is a new favorite of yours or just like you really enjoyed. I love talking about books with you guys so much. Also make sure to subscribe because all the month of December I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of videos that is going to be super exciting and awesome. So I will catch you in another video soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.